I always thought that the murder bill had a high probability of passing. You know, I mean, I didn't think. I'm actually surprised that three Republicans actually found their spine on that one. You know, so yeah, so I actually thought, and this is where I misguessed it. I thought that Susan Collins would pull a Susan Collins like she usually does, but she actually voted against it. I mean, which is actually smart for her because I mean, Maine relies on heavily on Medicaid and on a lot of provisions that the bill's going to cut. A lot of that doing uh, due to the fishing industry. But yeah, no, Lisa Murkowski is this is absolutely laid on her. You know, I know there were 50 other Republican senators who voted for it. Yeah, that's fine. And usually I'm the kind of guy that, say, well, all those Republicans need smoke. They need to get a taste of it. But Murkowski is always the one, just like Susan Collins, where she talks about how concerned she is. And she talks about how, oh, it's a bad bill or, oh, they need to redo this. And then somehow just comes around and votes for it, you know, and yeah. Yeah, of course she did, and she'll probably talk about like she did before how wow she's afraid and all this other stuff, and she's scared. It's like, well, if you're so scared, then why don't you retire and let someone else do your job? If you're so terrified of MAGA extremists, then get out of there. So, not too afraid to take whatever bribes and whatever they gave her to get that vote, So, I mean, Tom Taylor's North Carolina was like, bro, I ain't vote for you, and you can primary, I'm going to retire. Like, F you. So, shout out to Tom Tillis. I mean, I'm not a fan of him, but I mean, I'll give a little bit of courage where it's due, you know. But having said that, you know, um, yeah, she always says the House will fix it, but that's the other problem I have with that stuff. Janine is like, it's your job. You could have fixed it right then and there by voting it down and then sending it back. But they know they have to pass it now because the reason they passed it today or before the 4th was they all want to go on their summer holiday. We're talking about like geriatrics and people that, they don't like to work. Like, let's be real. So they don't want to stay in Washington on the summer holiday. They all want to go back to their states. They all want to go on vacation, for however long that is. Go do the rounds and talk circuits and, blah, 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 blah. So they can, and they won't come back until the fall or whatever. And they can vote for the omnibus bill, if that even is the thing. But that way they're out of Washington when all this other stuff and the economy starts hitting the fan. So yeah. Like, I find it funny that today Trump is, at Alligator Auschwitz in the Florida Everglades. Man, on a side note, isn't Ron DeSantis just the biggest punk? Like, I thought Chris Christie was a punk when he copped out to Trump. Ron DeSantis is an even bigger punk because Trump has punked him so many times, and he's going to build the Alligator Auschwitz in the Everglades. It's like and there's no reason to build it. That's what it is. That's why they're trying to call it the Alligator Alcatraz, because Trump wanted to turn actual Alcatraz into something because he's a freaking moron, and he's watched Clint Eastwood's movie Escape from Alcatraz made in the 70s one too many times. And so some staffer said, "Oh, well, there's this landing strip in the Everglades. Oh, we could turn that into a camp, and it's got alligators. We'll call it Alligator Alcatraz. Oh, that's such great branding. Blah blah blah." Like, okay, Like, you do know these people that you're sending there, that these supposed criminals that are undocumented, it's not a crime. It's not a felony. It is literally just a civil offense. Not even misdemeanor. It's civil. It's paperwork. But again, the worst thing about this bill, besides all the people they hurt, right, is they basically created the American SS or Gestapo. That's what ICE is going to turn into. Like, if, and I'll be honest, like, that is absolutely where Stephen Miller is going to take it. That's where he's going to go. You know, I see. I'm not. Even though he looks like Goebbels, he's not Goebbels. He's not the minister of propaganda. Stephen Miller is Heinrich Himmler. All the racial purity crap, all the replacement theory, and all this and all that. Like, you know, he is absolutely 100% Heinrich Himmler. It's the American SS. That is what ICE is turning into. They're already acting like the brown shirts, where they're running around doing a whole bunch of unlawful stuff, creating all this fear and panic. So they're just going to legitimize them and give them even more. And for what? You know, and that's why they had to pass this bill. Not only because of that, right? Um, like, and sorry, somebody's like trying to text me and they're throwing me off. It's like, my God, leave me alone. And no, but when things start breaking up, like starting to split apart at the seams, because they're deporting all the workers that pick the crops. Because in their racist ass mind, they thought that, hey, you know, um, all the black folks are just going to go back to the farms, and they're the ones that are going to pick the fruit and the produce. Okay, you know, like, so we're going to run into a whole bunch of things with our food supply. We're going to have a lot of problems. You know, that stuff's more than likely coming. You know, and farmers are going to get their asses whipped. You're going to have farmers getting wiped out, especially ones that rely on the farm bill, like, and the actual federal government, you know, to keep them afloat year after year with subsidized loans. You know, especially when they're cutting SNAP and WIC and food benefits, because guess who gets those? Why they're in place? It's to help American farmers. That's why WIC is so heavy on dairy. It's to help American dairy farmers. My ex-wife used to work for Women, Infants, and Children, and it's a lot of dairy stuff. So cheese, milk, some cereal stuff, you know, but mostly it's like cheese, milk, cereal, and a few other things. You know, produce and all that other stuff is more like that's SNAP benefits. It's supplemental nutritional assistance program. They used to call it food stamps. Juice. There you go, Tammy. Thank you. You know, but yeah, and let's face it, the juice that we get, a lot of it's full of sugar. That's to help corn farmers with high fructose corn syrup. That's why there's high fructose corn syrup in damn near everything we eat, is to help out corn farmers, you know, which a lot of that's ag business now. So there you go. But yeah. Yeah, the murder bill is just a travesty. It's atrocious. It is the biggest transfer of wealth by the government in modern history, bar none. And it's naked. And what's going to happen is a lot of these big businesses are going to, like, the rage isn't going to come right now. Like, I'm enraged and I'm mad, but I'm upset because I know what's coming. Like, you can just read it in the bill. And what's going to happen is you're going to have all these people that are right on the line. They're going to start suffering. And that's going to have, like, and the tariffs and everything else that they're doing is going to start really feeling an impact. And then their stupid ass is going to come back around September, October, talking about, oh, we need a bailout. Okay, well, how are you going to give a bailout when you done gave away all the money to the billionaires? Man, go ask them for some of it. That's when people are going to be furious. Because you're going to take from us, and then you're going to try to get even more as a bailout. And a lot of these punk ass corporate Democrats, they'll probably pass it too. Oh, we have to. Oh, we absolutely have to. I was like, okay, cool. Let's go into another part. Let's go into an even deeper deficit. Let's do it. These billionaires do not care about our country. They don't. 100% do not. Like, they don't care. The Congress reflects that too. It has become so corrupt and so horrible because of Citizens United. I don't think they're purposely trying to kill us, right? But you've got people that it's this myopic worldview, Janine, is what it is, right? It's the same thing with Lisa Murkowski, right? It's, oh, well, I got something for Alaska, so that's going to help me get reelected, until the parliamentarians shut it down, right? So she could care less about what happens to Californians, what happens to Texans, what happens to anybody else but Alaskans, because that's who's going to get her reelected, right? And so, they probably offered her some corporate gig or some, like seat on a board or some kind of parachute, in a back room. And it was like, look, vote for this thing. It passes. You retire. You keep your war chest. And there you go. That's another thing that's messed up about our politics. Remember when Joe Manchin decided he wanted to run for president for just a hot second? And he's like, I'm going to challenge the Democratic establishment, when there's no way in hell he had even a shot of winning. Well, the reason he did that is so the big donors could give him a bunch of money, and then he could say, okay, well, I'm just going to go. I tested it. I'm going to retire. And he got a nice little, 10, 15, whatever, how many $1 million it was. Because when you retire, whatever's in your war chest as a politician, you get to keep it. So it's pretty much standard practice when it's like you vote for some heinous ass piece of legislation that screws over your constituents, the poor ones, and then, the big money donors give you a fat paycheck from a PAC or something like that, and you put it in your war chest, you go, that's what Kristen Sinema did. The same thing. I'm gonna run as an independent. She was an independent for like a hot second. She got a whole bunch of money, and then she retired. Now, there used to be laws against that, but not, like we've never even talked about keeping money out of politics. This is how far back this goes, is since Russ Feingold in Wisconsin and John McCain, the Russ Feingold McCain bill. That's how long that's been, So, but yeah, I mean, I expect Lisa Murkowski to, if she somehow hangs on, like she'll take it down to the wire and then she'll retire. She'll fill up her war chest and then it's just like she's done. And that's it. She's had her run and there you go. Susan Collins is actually trying to save her job. She's just like, oh man, I can't vote for this. Man, Maine, I couldn't come back to Maine if I voted for this. Even that was a bridge too far for her. That's saying something, But yeah, I mean, what has happened is, and the reason I said they declared war on us is they don't think we rape anything. It's not a give and take anymore with them. It's they deserve all the money. We're just a cost. We're not a part. Like labor in any business is not considered a partner. It's a cost, And so you've had this dehumanization creep in on the Republican side of the fence. And that's why you get JD Vance, who's probably a freaking sociopath, who says things like, "Oh, well, yeah, these cuts, that's just minutia." Hmm. 17 million Americans losing healthcare is minutia. I mean, sure, if you want to compare it to like 370 million Americans, okay. That's like, like, oh, Genie. Oh, okay. There you go. So, like, yeah. Oh, there you go, Genie. There you go, Genie. I appreciate it. But like, thanks for the correction. But yeah, you know, it's the problem is they normalize cruelty, so the cruelty just gets harder and harder, and it gets more and more and more. There is no reason to have Alligator Alcatraz. None. There's no reason for any of that. It's just a photo op, right? But they're willing to put all these people at risk, you know, with heat exhaustion, heat stroke, um, whatever disease and stuff from being exposed to that stuff day after day, even the people that work there, right? Because you're basically cut off from everyone else. If the only way you can reach it is by aircraft, because maybe it was like like a drug landing strip or something like that. Who knows what it was, right? But seized in some like kind of narco raid or something. I don't know why it's there, but it's not for any kind of legitimate commercial purpose. Why the hell would you want to eat? Come on, you know. But they're going to put it there because it's just to please, King Trump, Daddy Trump. That's the only reason they're doing it. Logistically, it makes zero sense. Zero. But if you're trying to start a like, you know, no, you're good, Genie. It's all good. Like, um, if you're trying to start a concentration camp, and make it look horrible, oh yeah, there you go. You know, it's the same thing Rapo or whatever Joe Aparo did in Arizona when he would put people out in like the blazing heat. As like, and you know, and he'll it, and he made him wear like pink because he thought pink was effeminate. He made all the male prisoners wear pink. Um, and you had people like die heat exhaustion, and he was actually up for prosecution. Yeah, Maricopa County. There it is. Yeah. And the guy who I think Trump was the one that pardoned him, you know, because again, these prisoners, they don't deserve to be treated like people. I mean, it actually is against the Geneva Conventions, right? This is some shit that like will get you to the Hague, like international accords that we're violating. So, and again, like for people who are you know, landscapers, wow, damn, everybody's trying to call me right now. It's freaking annoying. And landscapers, just workers, just people trying to get by. So it's, I mean, there's no reason for this other than the cruelty. None. There's no criminal justice aspect to it. There's no there's no making us safe. There's no trying to really anything but cruelty. Nothing. Because there's an easy way to fix all this is, like just go ahead and Make these folks citizens. I mean, if you've been a law-abiding citizen for 50 years, why aren't you a citizen? I mean, we know the answer to that. We know why. But it's just basically what we've gotten to with and the Republicans are not about trying to balance the budget. There's no fiscal hawks to this at all because all they tell us we can't afford this, we can't afford this, we can't afford this. Well, then why are we up in the defense budget? Why is none of that going to soldiers, to service personnel that are actually serving? Why is it going to defense contractors? Well, it could be that because of Trump and all his bravado and bullshit, that we've lost out to the defense contractors have lost multiple international contracts. And so now taxpayers have to fit the bill. But you're going to take it from veterans of the VA. Because soldiers don't rate. You know, they don't because that's not a moneymaker for contractors. It's why the food isn't that great. It's why the housing isn't that great. It's why the pay isn't that great. It's why a lot of soldiers and families are on Medicare or Medicaid. You know, I mean, is Walmart going to actually start paying their people a living wage so they can afford health care? No. I mean, because Walmart underpays its employees in a lot of states that have Medicare or Medicaid, you know, just so they don't have to pay for their health insurance. Is that going to happen? Or is it just people want to just do without and suffer? Yeah. This is a horrible bill. And we've reached the end. We've reached the final phase of the Republicans where they can't hide the cruelty anymore. And the sad part is MAGA is going to get the brunt of this stuff because the red states are the ones that are held together by blue state money. So if the federal government takes in less revenue from regular folks, then the red states ain't going to get what they need. And that's why they had all those cuts. You know, so I mean, I didn't really expect anything different, but where we're at is corporate media and all these institutions of in this lopsided oligarchy we're living in need to come tumbling down. So, and there's going to be things they just at some point they can't hide. Economic numbers they're not going to be able to hide. They're going to try, but they can't. And food prices, which are going to keep going up because inflation is going up. Yeah, it's going to be where people just pull back, So that's why they wanted RFK and the CDC because the CDC tracks all those numbers, right? That's why RFK's a piece of shit. Some nut job with a brain worm and heroin addict, nepo baby. He's the reason they put him in there is so they're going to cut off. They've already cut the staff. They've cut all this stuff. So when people start dying, they don't get an accurate assessment. It's like hide those numbers, but it's going to come out because they have state health agencies. They're going to track it, and it's he's the fall guy. That's what's happening. So now this this bill is going to hurt a lot of people. And the chances of the House or people voting against it when it comes in its final form, yeah, it's possible, but I doubt it because Daddy Trump wants it to pass. and it's probably going to pass. And so then he can do his little, where he signs with a big pen, with his little sour ass face. And and if true to form, like his first term, that'll probably be the only bill he really passes. Everything else that will just be executive orders or, and they'll just be court cases as the country just falls apart. So, and then, you'll have a bunch of people that say, oh, well, we didn't vote for this. We didn't vote for this. Yeah, but you did, though. You did. You voted for this. This is coming. It's all in Project 2025. He talked about it on the campaign trail. None of this is a surprise. None of it. And honestly, Republicans, and I did a video about this on Notes the other day. Republicans don't think they're going to take a hit. They really don't. Because red states are gerrymandered all to hell. And they do voter suppression like there's nobody's business. And it's not even voter suppression. Yes, it is against black folks and it's against marginalized communities. Absolutely. But it's also against their own. Because again, they've got laws and strictures are, in place, statutes, I should say, in place that if they want to limit polling places, they'll absolutely do it. They'll make it harder for people to get out. And they know turnout is low on off-year elections, on midterms. I mean, frankly, I don't think Trump absolutely does not care about the Republican Party. Not at all. He's just there to grift. His family's just trying to he's a billionaire simply because of this, like all the money they're just stealing straight up. All the graft, corruption, the grifting. Trump cologne. My God. That's the one thing I'll never understand. Is just the foulness of a guy like Trump. The absolute foulness of it. Because if a Democrat did even just a scintilla of this stuff, they'd be roasted alive. Like just raked over the coals continuously by the corporate media. And we just shrug. Like, so yeah, this one's a little bit more of a rant, and it's it's a mess that is gonna I think this is inevitably where it was going. And people are finally just waking up to the fact that oh damn, we sold out the work that our grandparents fought for. All the things they got, all the concessions they got from power, all the things that they got from, legislation, pushing, worker protections, overtime, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security disability, stuff for veterans, all this stuff that took decades and generations to build has been wiped out slowly but surely. It's been wiped out. And it's going to hit the red states pretty hard. Now, the question will be when it does, because it will 100%, is how effective has the propaganda been for these people? Because there are going to be some people that just although there was one guy in the New York Times at a piece during the pandemic, some jackass, I think he actually was in Arkansas, some mid-40s guy who was like, "Oh, I'm a libertarian. I don't believe in blah, 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 and masking. And, if I die, I die." Well, he died, So I know there's going to be people that just, you know, their last breath, like, "Oh," quack, you know, or get kicked out of their apartment or whatever, or companies takes their farm or their land, some whatever, their livelihood, it's just gone. And they're like, "Yeah, well, at least I got to stick it to those libs." You know, I mean, you're absolutely gonna have people like that, but you are gonna have people that this is gonna be a hard wake up call, very hard wake up call. Now, I don't know if they'll survive it. Some of them won't, but a lot of them will. What comes after that, I don't know. You know, all I do know is, and I'm not prognosticate. I am not advocating for any of this, but in a country with a history of violence that we have, in a country that has a mythos shaped around violent insurrection, violent revolution against tyrannical figures with more guns than people, and you take away all hope and you take away everything they have, all I'm saying is Luigi Mangione it probably ain't gonna end him. And it's not everybody has a bunker like Trump. Not everybody has a Secret Service detail like Trump. So, I mean, these people they are playing with fire. And most people, they don't think about what's down the road. They think about, oh, well, you know, every time I run up to that bear, I punched it and it hadn't done anything. It just kind of it may growl at me, but it don't do anything. Well, until it does, until it decides to take your arm off, you know. I mean, it's that old JFK, that old JFK quote is when you make, peaceful revolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. So I don't know. I hope not. I hope that, you know, we can do something before that becomes a possibility or before that takes hold. But as someone who studied history pretty in depth, we are not, Donald Trump's already opened that door with Jan 6. The Supreme Court is further, they're putting the stoppers to keep the door open by all the lawlessness that they're greenlighting. The lack of due process being shredded. They're getting rid of legal, but more importantly, nonviolent recourse. And if they keep on, like Malcolm X said, you can't do it through the ballot box. The only thing you have left is the bullet box. And I'm not advocating for that. I want to make that clear. That's my concern. It's these people who have lost everything and they break in different ways. You mean to tell me you're going to cut back on VAs, on wait times, and you're going to cut back on money for people that a lot of veterans that have spent decades overseas doing horrible stuff that have access to firearms? You sure you want to do that? You want to cut off all hope? What little they had, you want to cut it off? I don't think that's a good idea, Slim. Especially when you make cruelty your central feature of your main policy position. Eventually, people get tired of the cruelty and they bite back. they hit back. I don't know. I mean, you know, I guess some folks got to learn the hard way. So, you know, I mean, you'd think there'd be some billionaires would be like, yeah, maybe we got enough, man. I think we're good, homie. You know, like maybe we need to leave some of these things alone. If there are, they better get in the game soon. I'm telling you, you know. So you start cutting out off hope for people, it's not gonna be it ain't gonna be good. It will absolutely 100% not be good. So yeah, the murder bill is, you know, the murder bill is a travesty. People are going to get hurt. People are gonna lose everything they have that are teetering on the edge. It is gonna put families at risk. It is going to make it harder at a time when people don't need it to be made harder. It's already hard enough. So I mean, I don't know what Republicans are thinking. You know, this is all insanity to me. But I do know when it's gotten this bad, this is when things start to collapse. This is when things start to break down. You know, and Trump, the way he is, that guy, he ain't fixing nothing. You know, he's not gonna have any self awareness and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, we better pump the brakes, man, or it's gonna get really, really bad. No. If anything, if we get it out, if we get through this relatively unscathed, it's gonna be just by luck and inertia. And if that's what you're counting on, whew, that's not a strategy. That's just crossing your fingers. You know. And that's what we did in the first term with Trump. You know. We're lucky the pandemic wasn't worse than it was, that there were people like Dr. Fauci in place that actually knew some things because a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people died that didn't need to die, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. So I don't know. You know, we'll see. We will absolutely see. But yeah, it still just infuriates me. Even though I was like, yeah, it's probably gonna pass. You know, yeah, like you know, there's no good Republicans. You know, basically they're all enabling fascism one way or the other. Like, but even still, just seeing it go, God, it just infuriated the hell out of me. Yeah, we're gonna it's pretty much gonna come to that. General strikes and you know, like general strikes, more protests, but it's gonna start getting worse because I know what these assholes will do is they're gonna start trying to because there's nothing on Trump barely got this across the line, barely. It's a reconciliation bill um, on the high watermark after you got reelected. You know, this is supposed to be a layup, but it was so horrible. He barely got this one across. God knows what he had to promise and what arms he had to twist and everything else. I don't think he gets anything else passed after this, especially if whatever happens in the midterms. You know, so I mean, they might try to cancel the midterm elections, but I doubt it. You know, I think they'll let us win. As far as just let them continue and let the Democrats have a blue wave, simply as they can blame us. You know, as soon as we win, before we even take off, oh, it's the Democrats. All the economy's all their fault. You know, all the China contracts we lost with, soybeans. That's all them. That happened in 2025, dude. No, no, no. It's Obama. Yeah. So. Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. I mean, Republicans can't govern. That's why they want. That's why they're happy to let us jump in every so often. Because they can't govern. Permanent tax cuts. Yes, man. For people that don't need them, like not even close to needing them. You know. So, well, be mad today. You know, I mean, we still got more stuff to do. There's way more of us than there are of them. So I think this is absolutely going to come back to bite them in the ass. Hell, they were scared of town halls before this. There's no way they're going to do them now. No way. But the only way forward, I really hope Elon Musk actually keeps his word and goes after the Republican Party. I won't like him, but I'll just be like, yeah, go ahead and fight it out. Create the American Party with all your money. And then I hope Trump investigates him. I hope it's just like, go for it. Y'all shred each other to pieces. It's like, then maybe we can find some Democrats that will actually step into the breach and do something. Oh, yeah, there we go. It's like, that's about time for me. I got to go. So anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in I just had to get all that off my chest. Like, God, this is a horrible bill. Awful. And he's gonna lie about it. Oh yeah, that's not gonna be any cuts. Da-da-da-da. And then of course he's gonna play dumb. After he signs it. Well, I didn't know that. Oh, did you guys? No one told me that. I can't believe it. Yeah, that's coming. That's absolutely coming. So anyway, I got to jump. But I appreciate y'all. Thank you again for showing up for the live. And as always, keep the faith, defend democracy. And I'll see you later.